Hi everyone. So I started going over this Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, and it is about narcissistic abuse. Like I said in my last video, there are quite a few movies and stories and documentaries and trials and events that are happening revealing the narcissistic mind and narcissistic abuse. And Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is one of them. There's a lot of things that are being pointed out about her behavior so that we are educated on what these people look like and how to recognize them, and also recognizing abusive behavior, because this world is such that we really don't even recognize what abusive behavior is. And this example, this woman she's been diagnosed by Johnny Depp's therapist. She's a forensic psychologist, I think is her title, and she was diagnosed as a borderline histrionic, which is a narcissistic personality disorder. And I agree with that based on what I have seen of her performance in this case. Borderline is essentially someone who does not know who they are, and so they borrow traits from other people. All narcissists do this because they don't know who they are. They're out of touch with their authentic selves. There's no way for them to connect with their authentic selves. They're essentially a shadow. They're a ghost. This is why you can compare them to vampires, because vampires suck your energy or your blood, and if you look in the mirror and you will see your reflection, but you will not see the reflection of a vampire because they don't exist. The histrionic has a tendency to dramatize, make flowery descriptions, not be specific, make things up, completely make things up to draw attention to themselves because they cannot stand anyone else having the attention. It seems as though Amber Heard has dramatized a lot of everything that is going on in this story. I can't possibly get into that now, but the point of this video specifically is to point out how I guess in some cases the mainstream media is touching on it a little bit, but again, it defaults to mainly the independent YouTubers and bloggers and alternative media to raise the red flag of her behavior. It does seem as though nobody believes her. She is basically being accused of being an actress. She's acting. She's incapable of crying. She is constantly making this kind of face but never comes to tears. She overly dramatizes her stories. She narrates them in such a way as to sort of frame them in a certain light without actually telling the details. She's trying to paint herself off as the victim in every scenario, and then she will blame shift in a situation such as saying, I can understand that he was angry at me for doing that, which gives the false impression of taking responsibility, but it's blaming, again, Johnny, because she's saying he got mad at me for doing this, but I can understand why. It's not saying that she's sorry for it or that, it was a wrong thing for her to do. I shouldn't have done that. He was right in correcting me. I don't think he went about it the right way, whatever the case may be. But again, it was an artful, manipulative way of making her the victim and making him the perpetrator and making him this angry, violent wife beater. Now, Johnny Depp, I will touch on him in another video because he has his flaws too, but the media is definitely making a point of showing that she's acting, that it's fake, that it's staged. There's numerous incidents within the testimony where even people watching call her out for the testimony being scripted. There was a photo she presented of the breakfast table that even Johnny admits is staged. He says that is a staged photo. It's way too clean. It's way too immaculate. It's so obviously staged. And the fact that he mentions that it's staged is drawing your attention to the grand production of all of this. There's a moment in her testimony yesterday in which Amber uses very cinematic phrases such as, she calls moments or events, like small events, scenes. And there were a couple other terms they used that were very theatrical or cinematic terms, and I can't remember exactly what they were, but it was kind of strange, and it happened quite a few times within the span of about 10 minutes of her testimony, and then they moved on from that. So it's almost as if they are telling us that this is a staged production, or at least her part is. So Amber Heard has been caught quoting the talented Mr. Ripley in her testimony in describing Johnny Depp. Alright, so I found quite a few tweets. Twitter is afire with some of these quotes. If you're watching Amber Heard, this is courtesy of Christina Pickles. If you were watching Amber Heard and felt like some of those lines felt strangely familiar, they are. She's stealing from film, TV, and books. Here's a thread of what I have seen so far. This was shared yesterday. Soul of the Troll Productions. You guys are great. I am a film business cinematographer, 45 years. She is so acting. Has actually used some lines from films. Can that be brought up? Michael Coe. I believe the drink lots of tea is mimicking how Julia Roberts said it to Hugh Grant in the movie Notting Hill. Yep, that last part is right out of Reservoir Dogs, the fake story the undercover cop tells. At one point, Amber Heard said Johnny slapped her, then said he'd rather cut off his hand. That's a line directly from Mildred Pierce after she slaps Veda. She literally got that from a movie. There's more. Might be the craziest ones. Here's the white chicks scene. Her entire beginning monologue is literally the plot of The Talented Mr. Ripley, actual quotes from the movie, and featured a character who showered gifts then mysteriously disappeared. Here's the thing. Narcissists do this. They shower you with gifts. They shower you with love. They love bomb, and then they disappear. But it's the narcissist that does this, so she could be projecting. The thing with Johnny is it's like the sun shines on you and it's glorious, and then he forgets you and it's very, very cold. When you have his attention, you feel like you're the only person in the world. That's why everybody loves him so much. People are already questioning Twitter's reaction to Amber Heard's testimony. Some of the scenes people say they recognize in Heard's testimony are simple as stubbing a toe on a door and throwing a glass and punching a wall. Obviously, these are not things so unusual that they've been taken from films and TV shows. Also, requests for links and timestamps to verify the claims have been left unanswered. In other words, no one has produced any clips of Amber Heard quoting, for example, Marge Sherwood's monologue. I did look for it. I couldn't find it, but I wasn't about to go through I think it was like 3 hours of testimony, and I had watched it. I did not recall her saying that, so it could be false.
Like, when I was around Johnny, I felt like the most beautiful person in the whole world. You know, it made me feel seen, made me feel like $1 million. It felt like a dream. It felt like absolute magic. and then he would disappear. And there'd be just no way to get a hold of him, no way to contact him.
The thing with Dickie, it's like the sun shines on you and it's glorious. And then he forgets you and it's very, very cold.
So I'm learning.
When you have his attention, you feel like you're the only person in the world. That's why everybody loves him.
Like, when I was around Johnny, I felt like the most beautiful person in the whole world.
Do you know how much it takes to break a human's hand? That was on a Netflix show, I Am a Killer, where a woman was on a life sentence for suffocating her man to death. Her ex broke her hands in the exact same way. The episode was called In Her Hands. Now, I have to say I am suspicious as to how these people are so quick to know that these quotes are coming from these movies and shows and books, because yes, I am a movie, film, TV, book buff myself. Granted, I stopped reading novels when I discovered the truth, but I do know a lot of media, and I have seen The Talented Mr. Ripley a couple times, but it was a long time ago because it's an old movie. I don't recall any of these lines. I haven't seen I Am a Killer, though. So for people to actually remember these lines is very surprising, and so quickly, but some people are very good at recalling details, and some people are, I guess, if their favorite movie or TV show comes up, or they just watched it or what have you, okay. But it does seem a little suspicious. Seems like this is being brought to the surface on purpose. Just my hunch. I'm not claiming to know for certain. Juniper Pearl, Coxie Girl, White Chicks when the dog flies out the window and is hanging on by its lead. So she stated in her testimony that Johnny Depp held the dog out the window in the car. So it seems like she's taking scenarios from various films. What else do we have? Okay, so there's more. I'm sorry I did that. I'd have rather cut off my hand. I never would have taken the job if I hadn't wanted to keep us all together. That's, yeah, well, there's proof right there. She did say that. I have a theory in the poo in the bed idea came from a scene in Alpha Dog, which she was in for like 5 minutes. One of the characters takes a drug-fueled poop on his enemy's rug as revenge. I do remember that, yes. I did watch Alpha Dog. This one sounds like her acting in the Toronto tape when he leaves the room.
Dickie, I know you can hear me. I was going to say that I would count to 3 and if you didn't open the door, but I won't count anymore. On you. I won't count on you anymore. Whatever it is you've done or haven't done.
I do have to say, though, narcissists do this very often. They have trouble generating emotion. They are out of touch with their emotion, but they run off feelings. So they're not connected to understanding what their feelings mean or where they are generated from. And so when they have a feeling, they have to associate it to something, so they automatically find something to blame it on, external to blame it on. So if they're angry when they happen to walk in the room and you happen to be there, then it's got to be something that you did that caused them to be angry, so they will get mad at you. And it does not have to be logical or reasonable or rational, because they are not logical or reasonable or rational people. They will just lash out at you because it's your fault that they're angry. And whatever it is that they pick up on that they can blame, they will. So that carries over to their inability to create things on their own. They just copy. They copy people's emotions. They mimic how they feel. They mimic how they react. Especially the closer you are to being a psychopath, the more narcissistic you are, the further away you are from your emotions, the further away you are from empathy. And so the more you have to rely on copying and imitating other people. Now, her diagnosis was borderline and histrionic, which is mid-range. And that is not, like, the greater is closer to psychopath. And then, so you have mid-range, then greater than psychopath. So you can also have psychopathic tendencies. I don't think she is, though. I think that her behavior demonstrates that she does fall in that spectrum of borderline histrionic. Those two have been well reflected in her behavior. So they tend to copy, take people's character traits, mimic what they see, and so they do steal from movies and they do steal from people, and they will take what you say and reflect it back to you because they can't think of anything on their own because they're out of touch with their feelings. So if you're watching the trial, you will notice that she's copying other people's style of dress. She's copying Johnny's glasses. And all of these little details are being pointed out by the various people who are following the case, and they're pointing out her inability to emote, her copycat mentality, her inability to recall details, how strange it is the way she behaves. So there's a slew of lawyers who just happen to be interested in sitting there for 8 hours a day following this trial, commenting on her behavior and other people's behavior in this trial to help you understand what's really going on here. And they have had psychiatrists and psychologists and forensic psychologists come out and provide their testimony and explain in detail what these tests mean, how they're conducted, what a borderline personality is, and what a histrionic personality is. They've given you a grand education in what this person is like and why this is narcissistic abuse. Let's see, what else do we have? The part about JD first throwing a glass in her direction, then punching a wall, and then punching a wall right next to her, that's from the TV show Made. When I heard her talking about the carpet, I said that came from Made. So that's interesting too, because when I was listening to the testimony, she was talking about how he hit her, and she wasn't focused on the details of how it felt. If he backhanded you with those rings that he has on his fingers, you'd surely feel it, and it would leave a mark. But there was no mark, and she didn't describe how it felt. She said she didn't feel anything. And then she said that she fell off the sofa onto the floor, and she was staring at the carpet, the dirty carpet, and she made a big deal about the dirty carpet. And I thought, this is something that you would do if you were making a movie. You would dramatize the moment by focusing on the dirty carpet. Or if you were reading a book, you would dramatize the moment by, oh, I was just in such a fit of despair. All I could do was look at the dirty carpet and wonder how I got here. And that was exactly how it was. She was dramatizing. Then moments later, she described the fact that she was sitting in a car staring at the window, and all she could do was stare at the window the way she stared at the dirty carpet. Again, similar kind of move, similar kind of moment, and dramatizing the experience. So she's just copying something she's seen somewhere or read somewhere, and there's no emotional attachment whatsoever. Interesting. So Amber said Johnny grabbed a flight attendant's wrist, slammed it down, and said how a few pounds of pressure he could break it, something along those lines. Well, here's another scene ripped right out of True Detective season 1, and sounds familiar to what she said.
A couple pounds of pressure. Snap your wrist. worth losing your hand over.
How would that work exactly?
The internet will get you, Amber Heard. This does not surprise me because this case has to be tried in the public eye. Johnny Depp wanted the public to watch it. He wanted it to be live streamed on television for everyone to see because this is where we're moving to. So on multiple levels, this case is being used as part of the agenda. So one, to expose the narcissistic mind, to help tear it down, to help bring it down. Second, to understand what abuse is, understand what true love is. Third, to try this court in the public eye so that you, the people, help bring down these people and feel that you are part of the process. And this is the direction that things are moving in, is that self-policing. So basically should be about taking responsibility and being accountable for your own behavior and your own actions, but other people holding you accountable when you are not, which could be beneficial or could be lethal. It could be really dangerous in the hands of the wrong people, because what I'm seeing with this Amber Heard situation is that it seems to be, at the moment, there's not a lot of hate projected at her so much. It's just more so women and men who are victims of narcissistic abuse like this are hurt and offended by the fact that she has manipulated the situation to paint herself as the victim and put herself in the public eye, defame Johnny Depp, even though he's not a perfect angel. However, that doesn't excuse anything, and lie. These people are hurt. These people are seeking justice. They want justice because they have either been shamed, they have been silenced, they have not been able to speak out, which is why it has to be misheard. Amber misheard. So this is all about being heard. And Johnny Depp feels that he's not had the opportunity to be heard, and he keeps referring to her as misheard.
But I will cut off my hand before I reach for you again.
He said, I'd rather cut my hand off than ever lay it on you or lay it upon you.
Drink tea. There's lots of tea.
But like lots of tea. Like lots of tea.
Well, what happened here?
Whoa, what happened here?
Simon made me feel like the most beautiful woman in the world.
Like when I was around Johnny, I felt like the most beautiful person in the whole world.
Oh, you think it's funny, bitch?
You think it's funny, bitch?
It doesn't feel like these people are very spiteful, or it's not like the typical internet troll hate. It's more like we're recognizing what you're doing. You're lying, and we're out to expose you for the fraud that you are. And we don't want to hear it from you. We don't believe you. And it's not the typical witch hunt. That's what I'm feeling right now. I do feel that there are a tremendous number of people who are watching this who have suffered abuse, who are hurt and offended by her performance and what she's done, and tearing a good man down. The fact that he suffers from addictions, and he's got some flowery language. He's a lover of poetry, which she mimicked. There's no way she's a lover of poetry. You just have to listen to her talk for 5 seconds to realize that she's not. Listen to Johnny Depp talk for 5 minutes to realize that he is. He's a singer-songwriter. He loves poetry. He ingests poetry. He speaks poetically. He's dark. He's very dark. But he has a sense of humor, and he speaks a little bit outrageously. Sometimes his anger gets the better of him, and he says things that are very, very bad, like disgusting, that he really needs to check. But not that it's excusable. He's been supported by his two ex-wives. Well, Winona Ryder was not a wife, but they were engaged. So his two previous long-term relationships, and Kate Moss is nowhere to be seen. But they have backed him up to say that he was never abusive. I couldn't deal with all the ignorant support of her so quickly. Came back here, signed an actual survivor of DV. So this is exactly what I am hearing. All of these people who are actual survivors of domestic violence, they can't stomach what she's doing. They're so hurt. It's not hatred, it's not outrage, it's hurt. At this stage, I don't think anybody believes her, and you can't. I mean, it's a right tragedy. She's gonna get put through the ringer. It's gonna get ugly. All right, thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. Have a good day. Bye.